For quantitative variables, each data point is a number. And so one of the simplest graphs we can make to show the distribution of a quantitative variable is a dot plot, where each data point is plotted on a number line. We're going to follow these steps to make a dot plot for this quantitative data. These are the passing touchdowns by week thrown by Peyton Manning in his historic 2013 season. Step 1 is to draw a number line. So here we have a number line with some roughly sketched out tick marks. You can make these look a little nicer if you're using graph paper or you have a ruler. We should also just label what this plot is going to show, and that is the number of touchdowns. Each point we plot on this dot plot is going to represent the number of touchdowns thrown in a particular week of the season. After drawing and labeling our number line, step 2 is to scale the axes. So we don't want to just randomly throw down numbers on the number line. We need to consider the data that we're trying to plot. We should have our dot plot start at the minimum data point, and we should end at the maximum data point, and mark whole numbers in between. Depending on the context, it might make sense to mark intervals different from whole numbers. If you were plotting month-by-month gas prices, you might want to mark tenths, for example, representing 10-cent increments. But for this situation, marking whole numbers makes sense because all of our touchdown numbers are whole numbers. Looking at our data, the minimum is 1, so this first point on our dot plot should represent 1, and the maximum is 7, so the highest point on the dot plot will represent 7, and then we've marked everything in between. And so you can see how that looks once we label the numbers, counting up from the minimum, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way up to the maximum of 7. Again, you can make this look nicer with a ruler and or a graph paper. I've just eyeballed the distance between these marks. That's one of the nice things about a dot plot, though. It's pretty easy to quickly sketch one out by hand, even if you don't have a ton of supplies. And then we finish with step 3. We need to place a dot above the line at each location corresponding to a data point. For repeated data points, we should just stack them on top of each other and make sure they are equally spaced. Let's go through this. If we just go down the list of data, we could start with week 1, 7 touchdowns, come over to the dot plot at 7, and put a dot above that. You don't want to put it on the number line, put it above the number line. The next data point is 2, so we'd come over to 2 on the dot plot and put a little dot above 2. Then we have 3, so we'll put a dot above 3. And then we have 2 4s, so on 4 on the dot plot, we're going to put 2 dots. Now the next data point is 2, so we need to put another dot above this one at the location corresponding to 2. And we want to make sure that these dots are approximately equally spaced. Otherwise, we could end up with a problem like this. Maybe there are 4 dots above 2, and maybe 3 dots above 4, but it looks like there's a lot more above 2 than with 4, just because it's taking up more space, because we haven't equally spaced the dots. The ones above the 2 are more spread out, so it takes up more area. Really, this is a violation of what's called the area principle, and it makes for a deceiving chart. But if we carefully go through all of these touchdown numbers, plot them on the dot plot, and make sure the dots are approximately equally spaced, this is the plot we get.